Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this topic of, caring for the elderly. It's something that's, I think, becoming more and more relevant. As all of us are living longer and longer, we have some really interesting source material for this deep dive. Well, you're not going to believe this, but it's from an English language learning textbook. An English language learning textbook.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's pretty fascinating.
Imagine like trying to learn English.
Yeah.
And you're using this like really complex social issue as the topic.
Well, it does kind of show how universal this topic is.
Right. It really is. And it is, it is only getting more and more relevant. In fact, the textbook highlights something that I found really striking. It says that the global senior citizen population is the fastest growing demographic worldwide.
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's pretty significant.
It is. It really puts things in perspective.
It does. And when you think about it, this demographic shift is happening because we're living longer, healthier lives. Advancements in healthcare, nutrition, all of that.
It's amazing.
It is.
But it's new territory, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
We haven't really had to deal with this before, not on this scale. And the book kind of jumps right into the thick of it. They use this term parent sitters.
Parent sitters.
Yeah, it refers to like middle-aged people who are juggling, their careers, their families, and now they have this added responsibility of caring for their aging parents.
Oh, I see. So they're like they're sitting for their parents in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a whole other level of multitasking.
That sounds incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
And the textbook really dives into how those different roles can collide.
Yeah.
The demands of a career, the needs of children, and then the responsibilities of caring for an aging parent. It's a lot.
It is. Yeah.
For example, there's this one story in the book about a woman. She actually had to quit her job to care for her father who was ill. And it just highlights the financial sacrifices that so many of these parent sitters have to make.
Oh, wow. That's a really tough decision to have to make.
It is.
And it's not just the financial side of things, right? The book also talks about the emotional toll,
Right.
especially when you're dealing with parents who have specific health conditions like blindness or Alzheimer's or even just arthritis.
Yeah, those can be incredibly demanding,
They are.
both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely.
The textbook does a really good job of painting a picture of these really challenging situations. I mean,
Right.
imagine, for example, having your elderly parents move into your home.
Yeah.
You already have a busy household
Yeah.
with your own family, and then you add that to the mix. It's a huge adjustment.
Yeah, it's a big change. And then there's this other big topic that comes up, nursing homes. It's interesting how the book, acknowledges the guilt and the shame that children often feel when they have to make that decision to put a parent in a nursing home.
Yeah, there's definitely a stigma around it, isn't there?
There is.
Like it's seen as if you're somehow failing as a child
Exactly, yeah.
if you can't care for your parents on your own.
And it's interesting because the book also points out this societal pressure, especially on the oldest child,
Yeah.
to be the one to step up and take on the primary caregiving role.
Oh, interesting. But then the textbook also suggests that it's often proximity that dictates who ends up taking on the responsibility, not necessarily birth order.
Oh, that's a good point. So it might not always be about, a sense of obligation,
Right.
but more about just, who happens to live closest.
Exactly. And then there's the added layer of complexity, which is that nursing homes often have really long waiting lists.
Oh, right.
The book mentions that it can be weeks or even months, or in some cases even years, to get a spot, which really highlights the growing demand for solutions in this area.
It does. It's a lot to think about. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
It can, yeah.
But then the textbook includes this really powerful quote. It says, let me see. One person caring about another represents life's greatest value. It's like a little glimmer of hope amidst all these complex discussions.
It is a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah,
And it really does speak to the heart of this whole issue.
it does.
Whether it's a parent sitter at home or a dedicated staff member at a nursing facility, it's that act of caring, that
Yeah.
connection. That really matters.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, we're all human
We are.
and we all need that connection. But I have to admit, looking at all of this, what really strikes me is just the sheer scope of this challenge. We're talking about a rapidly aging population with all sorts of different needs, and it seems like the current system is it's really struggling to keep up.
You've hit on a really crucial point there. What happens if lifespans continue to increase? How is society going to need to adapt to ensure quality care for all these elderly people? I mean, will we see new models of care emerge?
No, those are some really good questions. And that's exactly what we're going to be digging into in part 2 of this deep dive, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it really does make you think what the future holds for all of this.
Right. It's like we need a whole new way of thinking about it. We can't just keep doing things the way we've always done them, especially with the population aging so rapidly.
Well, I think the textbook actually hints at some potential directions. It mentions community-based services,
Hmm.
things like senior centers that offer more than just, social activities. Maybe even like temporary respite care for families who are feeling overwhelmed.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, taking some of the pressure off individual families
Exactly.
and keeping seniors engaged and connected within their communities. It's almost like a more holistic approach, wouldn't you say?
It is. It's about looking at the whole picture. And then there's this other aspect the textbook touches on, technology.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, think about it. Telemedicine platforms specifically for elderly patients, wearable devices to monitor their health and safety, even smart homes that can help them maintain their independence.
Wow, it's like a whole new world of possibilities.
It is. It's pretty exciting to think about.
It is. It's almost like a futuristic vision of elder care.
Yeah, seniors aging in place, comfortably and safely. But, and this is important, technology can't be the only answer.
Right, of course.
We can't forget about the human element, the compassion, the connection, the understanding. Those things are still essential.
Absolutely.
I mean, the textbook talks about the emotional burden on caregivers, and that's not something we can just ignore.
Yeah, you're right. I keep thinking about that woman who had to quit her job to take care of her father. It just shows you the kind of sacrifices people are making.
And the toll it can take. It's a reminder that caregivers need support too, whether they're family members or professionals.
I can't do it all alone.
And it brings us back to that quote from the textbook. One person caring about another represents life's greatest value.
It's a good one.
It really is. It reminds us that no matter how much technology we have, it's still that human connection that's at the heart of it all.
I think what I'm realizing is that this isn't just a personal or a family challenge. It's a societal one.
I agree. It's
Oh,
something we all need to be thinking about and working on together.
And it requires some out-of-the-box thinking to come up with solutions.
It's not going to be easy.
It's not.
But I think the first step is just recognizing the scope of the issue and approaching it with empathy.
Yeah. I
So
do.
the question is, what choices do we need to make today to ensure quality care for our elders tomorrow?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's one that we're going to keep exploring in part 3 of this deep dive. So stay with us.
Yeah, it really is a big question, isn't it? What kind of future do we want for ourselves and for like the next generation when it comes to this whole issue of caring for the elderly?
It is. And the textbook kind of pushes us to confront some of these hard truths, like the guilt and shame that comes up when someone has to make the decision to put a parent in a nursing home.
Yeah.
It actually uses the word burden, which I thought was interesting.
I know. It's like we're supposed to be able to do it all ourselves, right? Like no matter what.
Right.
But that's not always possible.
And it might not even be the best thing for everyone.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
parent or for the kid.
Exactly. And the textbook does a good job of highlighting how difficult these decisions can be, but it also says that it's important to recognize when someone needs specialized care.
Right.
It's about making the best choice for everyone, even if it's hard. Yeah, and we talked earlier about how nursing homes often have these crazy long waiting lists. So even if you decide that a nursing home is the best option, it's not always easy to actually find a place.
Especially with lifespans increasing.
Mm,
It seems like we need more options.
we do.
Maybe those alternative models we discussed earlier could help.
Right, like the community-based services and the
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah, maybe we can start to move away from this idea of elder care as a burden
Right.
and start seeing it as an opportunity.
Oh, that's a nice way to look at it.
An opportunity to give back to the people who have given us so much,
Yeah,
to learn from their wisdom and their experience.
to build a better world for everyone.
Exactly. A world where aging isn't something to be afraid of.
Right.
There's something to embrace,
I love that.
where elder care is just a normal part of life.
Yeah, and where the contributions of our elders are really valued.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the takeaway for me is that this isn't just a challenge for individuals or for families, it's a challenge for all of us.
I think it's a great way to put it.
And it's going to take all of us working together to figure out the best way forward.
So let's all do our part.
Let's have those tough conversations with our families, let's support our communities, and let's advocate for policies that make a difference.
Because we're all in this together.
We are. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep caring.